Call to order the May regular meeting of the Danville Board of Education. We welcome everyone who's here tonight. And we will get started with our first item, which is to approve the meeting agenda. Is there a motion?
Yes, I move that we accept the meeting agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item are reports and presentations, and the first item on that list are board member comments. Are there any members who would like to speak tonight?
I'm just going to take about 2 seconds and just express my pleasure in the many, many functions that I've been able to attend in the last few weeks. And I'm so proud of our students and the things that they've accomplished. It's a big deal. And this is a really hard time of year for not only the students, but also for personnel, our staff, because we're actually closing a year. And before the year even gets closed, we're already starting on getting next year implemented. So my hat's off to everyone, and thank you to everyone. And it's been quite a ride the last few weeks, and thank you all very much.
I just wanted to say it's been a busy time and a lot of athletic events and academic events. 2 things that I wanted to talk about. I was able to be over at Bate Middle School for Teacher Appreciation a week late on Friday, and I was asked to bring the sandwiches in, and no matter how many hours I spend at meetings, I really don't get the kind of reception I got when I walked in with a plate full of sandwiches. So it's fun to be the hero and get to do that. And the teachers, I wish we could do more for them. I wish we could do that every day. And then this morning, I was just honored to be part of the senior capstone presentations and get to see our seniors present the learning that they've experienced all 4 years of Danville High School. I've also been able to sit through the 5th grade transitional presentation learning and the one at 8th grade, but I'd never been to the high school, so it was just absolutely amazing to get to see some of our students present how much they've grown throughout the year, and each one that I was sat through had a different special place that they had focused at Danville High School, and so it was interesting that it wasn't just one thing. And each student had, whether it was forensics or the swim team or working with special needs kids, they all had something that helped them grow even outside of the classrooms. It was just fantastic.
Sure. On Thursday, I got the opportunity to go to the library and watch some of our forensics high school students that are going to be going on to nationals perform, and I am in complete awe of these students. It was just such a fun night for me to see that. My oldest daughter has actually participated in forensics this year, and as a parent, it's not really one of the things you go and get to watch and it's not a spectator sport. So I'd never had the opportunity to see some of those performances, and I can understand why these kids are going on to nationals. They just did an amazing, amazing job, and I have no doubt they're going to represent Danville High School and just Danville schools in general very well. And there's a couple sitting right up front. I don't know if anybody else is in here, but just very, very proud of these kids going on and representing our school. So good job.
All right. I just want to take a moment to mention one of our board members, Susan Adderley, is not here tonight. She had a death in her family over the weekend and is in Tennessee tonight for a funeral. So she asked me to pass along her regards to everybody, because this is an incredibly busy time of year and we all cross paths with each other, going to different events and functions at schools. And so it's an exciting time, and she wanted to pass along her regards to everybody tonight. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening as well. Thank you for coming to our board meeting. We're excited to see you guys. The first thing that we're going to be able to do this evening is to honor some of our retirees, which is an interesting event. There's certain monuments or milestones in life that you never think you're going to achieve. 4-minute mile, the Whitney Houston high note, and retirement from public education. It is more than a task to work through years and years of kids, stories, and initiatives, and changes in leaderships and designs and philosophies, and collect what ultimately becomes the winning conversation at any gathering as far as who can tell the best stories. So with that, we'd like to make sure that we have an opportunity to honor our retirees and congratulate you on absolutely a storied and amazing career in public education. So with that, we'll begin. Sure. Is Sandy Embry present this evening? If not, I'll be happy to talk about her behind her back. Sandy Embry finished in Danville Schools as our Director for Elementary Instruction. Previous to that, she had served as a principal, and in the process of her career, had taken care of any series of programs, grants, and other initiatives that simply needed someone to be detail-oriented, to take it on as a task no matter what was asked, and to make it work for kids. With that, we would like to congratulate Sandy Embry on her retirement from the Danville Schools.
I'd like to call Doris Moran. Doris Moran to the front, please. For each of our retirees, we're presenting a bell in honor of all their service. It's engraved in recognition of their years of service in the Danville Schools. And I'd like to present Miss Loran. Miss Loran's been in the Danville Schools, worked in the Danville Schools for over 10 years, 13 years. She's worked with elementary students of all ages. We joke because she's kind of moved down, as her career has progressed, she has moved down in ages. Most recently, she worked in preschool. And she transitioned to preschool from kindergarten. And we weren't quite sure what to expect. And I think you had some reservation about it. But it turned out it was a great fit. And we truly missed her since she's retired mid-year. But I understand she's enjoying her days now. And we wish you the best. So thank you.
I'm going to stand this way. I've got the privilege of speaking for Miss Juanita Chadwell. This is a very special lady. She's been an instructional assistant in our moderate to severe unit, which, as you can imagine, is probably one of the most challenging and rewarding classrooms to be in. She's been here in the high school, 22 at the high school, and then just finished up at Bay for us. With her goes a legacy of love, Chadwell, as her students call her. And I just have to say my appreciation to her when I started this job. You know, it's very tough. She was always sweet and funny. It's okay, you'll be all right. So she's great with the kids and great with staff. And I know we're all going to really miss her. And she'll live on in our hearts and the hearts of her students and everyone that she's helped. I'm just very appreciative of all her years of service and all you've done for her.
All right, Quincy, your turn.
Let's say in 1955, Don Rollins was the principal of Danville High School. And I'm sure he worked tirelessly for his students and staff. But one thing he had to do was supervise the parking lot during lunchtime, because then the students could leave and the old high school was up where the Norton Center is now. And so one fellow he had to deal with was a graduate from Old Lancaster High that came over to see his girlfriend at Danville High School and pick her up at lunch. And this guy drove I think he drove a 57 Oldsmobile. He would squill the tires and burn the rubber in the parking lot. So Mr. Rollins had to chase him down and fuss at him. And so if you fast forward to 20 years to 1975, he moved over to central office and he reluctantly had to hire that same guy to be a bus driver. And I think his quote was, "I cannot believe I have to hire you as a bus driver." So fast forward 40 years to 2015, and we're here at Quincy's retirement. He has literally transported generations of families. And they know him by Mr. Quincy. He's had grandparents. He has grandparents that he hauled of our students now. So Quincy has a strong sense of right and wrong. He had good discipline on his bus. Some of our kids that find school the most challenging identify with Quincy, and he was really close to a lot of those kids. So I think that speaks well. 40 years in driving a bus. I'm not sure what else I can say that would cause people to respect a guy more than that, but he did it the right way as well. So Quinn, thanks for 40 great years.
I told him I had to have equal time. It's been a great ride. I've worked for 6 different superintendents, 5 director of transportations, and a bunch of board members. It's been a wonderful, wonderful trip. Thank you.
All right, I am here to introduce Joanne Harris. So if Joanne will come on up. I'm really pleased to be able to talk a little bit about Joanne. Joanne, this is my first year at Hogsett, and every day she's got the same smile on her face and just such a welcoming person, and she will be greatly missed. I found out that Joanne this is her 30th year, and all 30 years at Hogsett Elementary. So we're just really pleased with the work that she's done over the years. I asked her what she's going to miss the most, and of course her answer was she's going to miss the kids and the faculty. And she said that it's and because they're like family. And she said that's the way it should be. And I said, but Joanne, it's not always that way. So the fact that she does feel like it's been family really means a lot. She's looking forward to spending time with her 2 grandchildren, and we just wish you the very best, Joanne. So,
I'm accepting this one on behalf of Linda Stevens, who was with us for several years. She worked right here most of the time in the snack shop. She was your snack lady. Then she transferred over to Hogsett. They were fortunate enough to have her for a few months. And she had to leave a little bit sooner than she wanted to due to some health concerns. But she's a trooper. And the one thing I remember about Linda, I was lucky to be able to work with her during the summer feeding programs. And her one term that we used, and I think we did this before Larry became a guy. I'm not so sure that he didn't copy from us, because she would get her done, okay? I'd ask if we'd do our checklist. She said, got it done, got it done. So she got this done too and did very well with it. Oh. And the next one, Margie Divert, whose shoes I'm trying to still fit into, and not, it's a tight fit, let me tell you, because they are some big shoes. But anyway, she couldn't be here with us tonight either, but she started at Judy Rogers. She and I started at the same year, and I worked for her. She was the manager, and then went on to Danville High School, and then I was food service director, and I'm proud to say she's one of my dearest friends. And she's done a lot for the Danville schools, and I treasure the time that I got to spend with her.
Thank you. One other note with the superintendent's report, and we'll transition into our celebrations of excellence. You may just continue talking, if that's all right. First, I want to take a moment that if you've not gotten a chance to hear the news, Ron Bauer has been named the next principal of Tolliver Elementary School. That's worth a round of applause. I want to say how much I appreciate the hard work of the site-based management team that spent a great deal of time scrutinizing candidates, putting them through very difficult challenges to make sure that we found the absolutely best for the students, families, and community of Tolliver. If it's all right, I'd like to begin with our celebration of excellence. Tonight, we want to do things a little differently and have the opportunity to showcase some of the work of our Danville schools. Some of our hallmark pieces in the district include our performance-based assessments, our presentations of learning. While this is the season of K-Prep, it's important to remember that students are defined by much more than a certain circle that's colored in, whether it's A, B, C, D, or E. So to that end, we've got a few presentations tonight, which include the gateway presentation of an elementary school student from Hogsett, Mr. Lincoln Gordon, a PBAT assessment from Bate Middle School, Grace Gaffney, and an intercession presentation from Levi Doherty of the high school. So we'd like to start with the elementary school. And Lincoln, if you would, we'd love for you to come up and do your thing and show folks what this is all about. So Lincoln is presenting for us some artifacts from which to speak, some notes about his identity and so forth, and some other special things that will help represent who he is as a student and as a learner.
My name is Lincoln Gordon. I am here because I'm going to Bate Middle School next year for the first time. I'm here to tell you about my 2 strongest Danville diploma skills and my 1 weakest skill. But before I start my speech, I want to tell you a little about myself. I'm 11 years old and I have attended this school for 7 years since preschool. I live with my mom, dad, and brother. My brother is 14 years old and he's a freshman at Danville High School. I picked my K-Prep nose. K-Prep medals from 4th grade because this shows you and reminds me how I persevered to get them. I took my time on the K-Prep test so that I would achieve proficient with English. I really wanted to reach that goal because my education means a lot to me. If I didn't manage my time well on the test, I wouldn't have achieved that goal or persevered and would have only achieved apprentice on honors. That would have been it. My other Danville diploma skill that I want to talk about today is teamwork. When we are working in groups or playing a game like Social Studies Jeopardy, I try the best I can to help my classmates out on hard social studies questions, such as what are 3 branches of government, which are judicial, legislative, and executive. Me and my team try to help the person that we're passing out, answering the question the best we can. The one thing, I also use my teamwork and perseverance skills on my Bate basketball team. As a 5th grader, I made the Bate Middle School 6th grade basketball team. I always give 110% effort to win the games. You must work as a unit. We came in 4th place in our conference this year, and we could have placed 4th without teamwork and patience. This is the Bate trophy. The one thing, actually, a lot of things, I need growth on is my critical thinking skills. For example, when I'm at home or at school and I do something that gets me in trouble, I should think before I act so I can stop myself before I get in trouble the next time. I need a lot of work in that area. In conclusion, my proudest accomplishment at Hogsett is achieving a score proficient on the K-Prep for language mechanics, science, and reading. The next K-Prep I hope to get distinguished. by persevering and using my teamwork skills, I can accomplish anything I set my mind to in the future.
The composure it takes. The composure it takes to be in front of a bunch of scary, well, one scary adult and a bunch of other nice people. And to be able to be humorous and recite and discuss your skills and things to work on is absolutely just an amazing bit of composure. Mom and Dad, y'all should be proud. Thanks for joining us tonight. Next up is Grace Gaffney from Bay Middle School. I have to give you a preview in that I had the opportunity to score a number of the PBATs at Bay Middle School. And when you develop a rubric, you try and create things to make sure that everyone's got a certain series of scorings and categories and so forth. And Grace absolutely blew me away. And when you want to talk about what an outstanding work is what you're absolutely about to see. No pressure, Grace.
Soccer and church. These are two totally different topics, but in this case, they have everything to do with each other. So how could soccer and church be even slightly related? Well, in most cases, they're not, except for down in Orlando, Florida. These two had everything to do with each other when the government took a local church to turn it into a soccer stadium for the Orlando City Soccer Club. In this case, there are many examples of how the government misused their power. So let's begin. First of all, this case goes against the First Amendment. This right allows all Americans to have the freedom to exercise religion, which includes giving them an established place of worship. By seizing their land, the government is taking away their right. Now, in a related case, the government ceased building a pipeline through a monastery in Kentucky. When asked why they stopped building it, they said it was considered holy ground. So why is it any different here in Orlando? When asked the question why the city was allowed to take the church, the circuit court judge said it was for legitimate public use and it was in more public favor. From this, we can learn that the government is more worried about building a new stadium than to protect religious rights. Now, some may argue that tearing down the church and building the stadium would be for public use, but this is not the case. The stadium is being built for a private soccer club. It also charges admissions for parking, entry, and merchandise, which excludes people who can't afford those charges. With that being said, the stadium is not for public use, but for middle and upper class citizens who can afford to attend these events. The project also costs a lot of money, $110 million to be exact, with an average attendance of 3,987 people out of the 18,000 it can hold. The club would have to have at least 175 sold-out games. With 9 home games a season, this would take a total of 20 seasons to pay back. But this doesn't even include the amount of maintenance, payments for workers, players, team managers, and the interest they have to pay on their loan, which would take the team even longer to pay back. While there is merchandise and parking fees that will create extra revenue, this will not help repay the stadium costs in a quicker amount of time. Orlando City Soccer Club is a relatively new team, so their fan base is quite small. In their first MLS soccer season, they finished 10th out of the 20 teams in the Midwestern Conference. While this outcome isn't bad, it's not good enough to gain the attention of the public. And when there's lack of public attention, the revenue from parking and merchandise decrease. And finally, the first game of the 2015 season ended with a tie, which is very much a work in progress, says David Wellstein of the New York Times. With this disappointing result of their first game, Orlando City Soccer Club must make an exciting comeback to captivate the attention of the nation, to grow their fan base and fan base revenue. Finally, the building of the stadium creates a hazard for the environment and its surroundings. Although Orlando City Soccer Club had millions of dollars to spend, they did not find it in their interest to purchase land for parking close to the stadium. In fact, the parking for fans is up to a mile away from the actual stadium. And 2 out of the 8 parking lots are directly by 2 major lakes in Orlando. This would promote pollution from trash and vehicle exhaust to enter the lake and its surrounding environments. This would also cause congestion in traffic with the 4,000 people who attend the game. In the end, government took a local, well-known church and turned it into a new soccer stadium in hopes that it would promote public use and would increase economic growth. The building of the stadium not only failed to meet those purposes, it also created problems for the surrounding area. The government may not always know what's best for the people when it comes to eminent domain, but one thing we can rest assured of is that praying comes before playing.
Thank you, Grace. And considering that in a little while this meeting, we will be discussing issues of a Kinder Morgan pipeline through Danville, it may be that we need to consult our students from Bay Middle School to make sure we understand full principles of eminent domain and other related material. Thanks, Grace. Next up is Levi Doherty to talk to us about intercession. It is difficult to say his name without using the Alice in Wonderland accent that he chose to use for presentation. So I will do my best to contain myself, but I'm anxious to see what you guys have for us.
I'm just here to introduce Levi. We're here to, we're invited to kind of discuss intercession at the high school. There's so many variety of classes, courses we can take, and Levi was in this class that we call model rocketry, and which is roughly what 22 students were in there. We also taught a class in carpentry and a couple of cornhole games, and the beds that you see out there, the vegetable beds that you see out there. But we offer so much, and most of you, or some of you probably don't know what goes on in the intersection, or how many great classes that we can offer, and it's wide open. But Levi is one of our better students. He's also a forensic guru, and one of my better chemistry students. So, Levi.
All right, so I didn't come Thank you. I didn't come prepared for this, so I'm sorry if my speech is in shambles a little bit. Like Coach Mo said, here at DHS, we have a lot of different kinds of possibilities when it comes to intercession. It's just a week long thing where you can pretty much choose like anything you want. There's like baking classes, there's card game classes, there's just something like an appeal to everyone. And what I got to do in mine was both Rocketry 101, whatever the name was, and Southern Barbecue 101 with Coach Little, which was absolutely the bomb. I took both classes last year just because I took them again this year just because it was just so much fun. It's just like something that it's just like a week-long thing where we can kick back and we can just relax and do things that we enjoy doing. Like for me, I'm not that good at math. It's one of my not so strong subjects, but
your principal and faculty behind you are scowling at that remark.
Oh, really? Oh.
Sorry, Mr.
But yeah, it's good to take a break from the Common Core everyday thing. It's just a fun time for everyone. Really much. My rocket's still in somewhat of a decent looking piece. My careless self dropped it while coming in here, but whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah, intercession works.
Again, we'd like to thank the students and their families for coming this evening to help share some of the exceptional work that we do in the Danville schools far beyond what is traditionally known to be part of one's educational process. So thank you, guys.
Is that all?
So, okay. Couple more.
Okay.
Hello. I am here tonight our students have been busy working, and so have our teachers. Our teachers work nonstop around the clock. And in fact, the 3 teachers that I'm recognizing tonight are off with sports or other school-related activities. But I wanted to recognize these 3 recipients of the Campbellsville Excellence in Teaching Award. And this award, the purpose of this is to recognize the quality teaching in the schools of the state of Kentucky and strengthen the field of education. It provides a statewide recognition to outstanding individuals for their leadership and dedication to teaching profession. They were recognized this weekend at Campbellsville. Their principals got to go, Dr. Look got to go, and their spouses or significant others got to go to realize of all the hard work that goes on around the state. They were spotlighted for several key things. They apply their energy and enthusiasm to teaching, variety of methods they use in their instruction, use of imagination, meeting all students' needs, demonstrating effective use of time, exhibits professional integrity and ability to cooperate, and their devotion to the students and their time to education. And our 3 recipients from elementary was from Jenny Rogers, was Renee Lanigan, from Bate Middle School, Diana Henderson, and from Danville High School, and Andrew Roeder. So I'd like to recognize those 3 teachers, and hopefully we can get them in to give them the recognition that they need to. So I'd like for you to give a round of applause for this.
Let's do it. This is our.
Okay. All right, so we're moving to the next item on the agenda, which is the Arts and Humanities Report with Ms. Dewey.
Hello.
Hi.
Now that I see that you could pick this up and move a little, I'm going to do that because it might be easier for me to help take you through some of the slides because they are busy. They are busy with things. When I came to the board in December, I also sent the board report out to all of the arts faculty that we have. And I got various comments from them, but from one of my really, truly wonderful colleagues sent back the comment, gosh, that's a lot of stuff. So I thought that this month, rather than give you facts and figures, I would take a lesson from Advocacy 101 and have more good stories than facts. And I will have more facts for you, but we've got beyond stuff tonight. Meaningful opportunities in the processes of creating, performing, presenting, producing, responding, and connecting. It's very interesting. We can go to the next slide. I found myself asking, why? Why are we doing arts education here in the Danville schools? And of course, I've got tons of research, and I've brought research to the board before. I see some of my board members who have heard it before, and I'm only going to read you what results of one study. Well, actually, it's 2 studies, but there were 2 studies with large sample sizes from the late 1990s, and this was in a recent presidential report on basically restarting arts education, showing that low-income kids who participated in arts education were 4 times more likely to have high academic achievement and 3 times more likely to have high attendance than those who didn't. Now, they updated that study fairly recently, tracking the same kids into their mid-20s, showing that those advantages not only increased over time, but they are more likely than their non-arts engaged peers to have attended and done well in college, built careers, and volunteered in their communities. So when we think about why, we've got these national studies, and if anyone's interested, I can always give you more. But we also want to think about why in our schools. So if you wouldn't mind clicking on the photo there, which is just a little short video audio. A big jazz band at their recent end-of-the-year performance. And we can certainly hear that students care about their work.
They're engaged in a process that took them to that stage, and that's students from 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade in that band working together. We have strong programs consisting of instructional and assessment strategies that show student achievement beyond paper and pencil tests. And something I was reminded of just today, that through self-expression, students learn about themselves. And through the studies of arts, they learn about societies and cultures that they learn to respect and appreciate, even when those cultures are different than their own. You can go on. I wanted to show you this because I wanted to show you the column about process. We've been talking a lot about process with the District of Innovation, with student achievement. We've certainly heard a couple of students tonight really show their process to us. And the arts, can you just go on? The arts show us process all the time. In fact, those 4 strands of standards that I talked about briefly at the beginning are all called processes. So all of our standards, whether we're presenting, whether we are creating, whether we're responding to our own and others' products, they are all processes in the arts. And you can see the way some of our teachers look at processes. You see a simple rubric for a stained glass project. You see a rubric right there in the center that was actually designed by Mrs. Hearn and her art students. And they put in a section just on process. How do we do this, and how do we think about it, and what makes what we're doing work? Because it looks different for every student. Those Rangoli designs that you see up there in the upper left-hand corner, they are used to explore radial balance for students, which is an art principle. They all are based on that same principle of radial balance, and yet they all end up looking different. And they come from a culture of gigantic sand and sometimes flower petal paintings that the students learn about. You see students actually researching in these photos in ways that you would not think about with typical research. You see a young girl up there drawing against a window. She's actually researching how to use different materials and light in different ways. You see a picture right there, a little small picture in the center. And that's actually a bunch of students. I walked into a music class at the elementary school, and Mr. Fleming, one of our music teachers, was handing out drumsticks, and I thought, oh, this will be fun. And he actually gave them several minutes to just explore how do the drumsticks sound against each other. Not against each other students, but against each other, the drumsticks. How do they sound when they hit the floor? How do they sound when they hit the desk? And then he took them into a process of using them in various ways, and perhaps more, sometimes less constructive ways. So we can go on. So innovation and accountability is built into what our teachers do in the arts every day. We think about direct instruction as something that isn't necessarily optimal for our students. We don't want teachers who just stand up there and lecture at students. So I wanted to give you some examples of what direct instruction looks like in our world of arts education. It looks like Ms. Hearn over there with a small group of students demonstrating how to work with clay while other students are working on their own all around her. It looks like those students in the center, and you can see some of them looking towards someone. They're actually looking towards Mr. Bowman for instruction in dance. And I'm not going to take you through that whole thing, but that's direct instruction in the arts. The bottommost photo there, and then you can, well, in this incarnation of it, it got cut off. But we had direct instruction in periods of musical history by having a Grammy-nominated trombonist come in and present for both our middle and high school students. Whole school, he engaged them in actually being a part of the program. He took them through various musical styles. Not the kind of direct instruction that you think about, but the kind of direct instruction that we do in the arts. Could you go on to the next one? And it reaches all students. I got to spend a little time this year with some peer mentoring programs, both at the high school level and at the elementary school level, with arts programs where with some of our students with disabilities are working with some of our other students. And our students with disabilities at the high school have developed a partnership with a local restaurant where they go in and create decorated trees for different times of the year. And we talk about arts with that. We talk about design, use of color, shapes, and how holidays are expressed, or how times of the year are expressed through different images and symbols. We also have an arts expression program with our younger students, and again, it's kind of over there on the side, but they are actually creating arts projects, and they learn fine motor skills, they learn pattern, they learn movement, all through the use of the arts. And then the photo there in the center, where it just looks like people are swirling things around, it just looks like that because that's what they're doing. And that's a group of gifted and talented fourth graders learning how to twirl gymnastic ribbons. And I took them through that, and then we gave them a scene that they've been working on from a play called Sadako and the Thousand Cranes. And the opening scene is actually a scene that I had previously created with some older students to set the stage. And it's a movement-based scene where it's symbolic of the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima, because that's what the story deals with. And they figured out, after having twirled these ribbons, how to actually block movement using these ribbons. So rather than, these are students who usually sit in their seats and get the right answers, and are some of our highest achieving students got to explore what it's like to take movement and then create from that. So we use the arts in a variety of different ways. You can go on. I ask myself this question all the time: curricular, co-curricular, or extracurricular? What we do in the classrooms is often the same things that we do in co-curricular and extracurricular work. Sometimes we don't have as formal a rubric for it, but our students are creating, they're performing, they're responding, whether they're working in the classroom or outside of the classroom. So you see various examples of this here. In the left-hand corner, you've got some of our students actually working on the Jabberwocky puppet, who we have our guest artist actually here in the audience tonight. And they were creating with him, you see our new digital media class over at BAIT in the lower left-hand corner. That actually came from a class, but it's currently being exhibited as part of the Youth Art Fair. You see another one of our elementary students there in the corner, very carefully explaining to her grandparents her piece of artwork at that same Youth Art Fair. And then you have our students performing in a play that they wrote, Teenaged World. That's our BAIT middle school students, and then down right below that is our older students in Alice in Wonderland. The BAIT play had a curricular element. The high school play did not. You really wouldn't know which one was taught in the classroom and which one was done after school. It's the same processes that we interweave, whether it's in the classroom or outside of the classroom. And if you can just go on. I just wanted to drop this in for the board because we've kind of extended into humanities, and as you may or may not know, program reviews are expanding to include world languages and global competencies, and I wanted to let you know that our world language teachers are actually hard at work on this, and they met with the KDA consultant, Alfonso de Torres, about a month ago. And they started some really strong work on learning targets and where that would lead them, and analyzing the world language standard to get there. So they're doing some really good work with that as that starts to roll in. Can we go on? All right, what's next? This is where my notes come in. I wanted to give you just a little preview of next year. Next year, we've got groups of teachers already who are going to be working through arts academies with some national trainers, with a group called Arts Literacy out of Brown University, and a Center College professor. And the Center College professor will be using her students coming into our classrooms in the school system as laboratory work, and it's all about creating deeper levels of comprehension for student readers. And this particular program has had excellent success with reluctant readers and ESL students. We are continuing to work on arts career pathways Shelley Stinnett, the visual arts teacher, and I will be going to score the first pilots of those early in June. We're continuing to collaborate with Citizens Concerned for Human Relations on a school-based portion of the Frank X. Walker Literary Festival for September. We're collaborating with the Danville Cultural District to present the UK Opera Outreach Program for our third consecutive year. We're continuing to work with the Great American Brass Band Festival. That's how we were able to bring in Bradley Kearns, the jazz trombonist, and they are writing another grant for this year. So you see that we're building on what we're doing this year and next year. And if you could go on, I think this is it. This is it, and he can say it much better than I can, so I'm going to let him have the last word.
The difference is that we would not have as much fun as we do now, because we get to do a lot of art things, and I personally like art, so it's kind of boring just to do math problems all day. No offense to this, but I'd rather not do math problems. I'd rather do art.
Okay, good. So just from one of our fifth graders asked about what he thought about working with the arts.
Thank you, Ms. Dewey. That ends the portion of our meeting that's about reports and presentations. If there are families who came for the recognition or anything else you'd like to leave now, we'll be glad to excuse you. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like. We understand that it's a school night. Next on our agenda is an item called Reserved for the Public. Is there anyone here who would like to address the Board of Education tonight? All right.
Yeah, my name is Daron Stewart.
Well, you can come up here, identify yourself, and we'll give you 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, it won't take long, and this might be the wrong forum. If that's the case, my name is Daron Stewart. I'm a proud 87 Danville grad. My concern, the reason I'm here, I tried to call the school to see if this was the appropriate forum for this. I didn't get a return phone call. I spoke to Ed briefly on my way in. My concern, as you all I'm sure are aware, is the media storm that's kind of hit about baccalaureate services that the high school had. And I'm just here to try to gather some facts in terms of who puts that on, who approves the agenda, was the students and everybody aware of the agenda and what would be spoken, the type of prayers that were led and all that type of things. And if I had concerns, and again, if this is not the appropriate forum, somebody just let me know who to follow up with about the concerns I have regarding that. Thank you.
Yeah, I would be happy, Mr. Stewart, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you, and we can go through every bit of those details and get your questions answered.
Okay.
If you will, just call the district tomorrow, or even after the meeting, if I can get your number, I'll reach out this other time.
Both places should have my number and a message from me as of this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm John Bradshaw, and I live at 102 Savannah Way in Danville. I am a voter, and I'm a taxpayer in the Danville school system. I would like to ask the learned counsel here if somebody can give me the definition of baccalaureate. Surely, somebody knows what it means.
It literally means that you can read the wording of...
No, I didn't ask you. I asked
Yeah, Mr. Bradshaw, usually in this part of the meeting, we just kind of hear from the public. We don't really engage in a lot of back and forth. I think that...
Apparently, that's true. The term, I'll tell you what the term baccalaureate is.
Right. I was going to tell you that I think that all of us probably have been through high school and have attended ceremonies like that. But in any case, go ahead.
Baccalaureate is a Catholic term. It's honoring, it started in the 14th century, honoring the graduates of schools. So it be secondary schools, primary schools, or colleges. It is a Christian term created by the Holy Catholic Church. Now that we understand that, does anybody remember the Supreme Court ruling stating that Christian services or secular services would not be supported by public schools? Does anybody understand that? Remember that?
I'm glad for you to continue with your comments, but
Okay.
we really don't want to engage in, so if your questions are rhetorical, please just keep going.
There was a baccalaureate service that was held here last night. It was held in the public building, in the public school building. So apparently it was sanctioned by the public schools. So the Danville public school system violated federal law. I'm not necessarily saying that I agree with that federal law, but they did violate the federal law. I think it's time now that we stand up for what we believe. As I recall, in history, the signing of the Declaration, there was not a single Muslim on the signing of the Declaration. Not a single one. As we fought the battles of our country for our freedoms, very, very few Muslims have served. The most recent notable one was a major in Fort in Texas that ended up shooting a good number of Christians.
Is there a limit to the public comment?
No.
Okay, thank you.
We would like to keep this brief, so if you could just take a
I
couple of
am
minutes.
voicing my displeasure with the Danville Board of Education, the Danville school system, for allowing the baccalaureate to be held the way it was held and disregarding the Christian faith. That's the way I feel. That's the way a lot of people feel. It's time for us to stand up and say enough is enough. Progressiveness is done for, as far as I'm concerned, in the city of Danville.
Is that, all right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak tonight?
Hello. My name is Jamie Loeb. I also live in Danville, pay taxes, vote, all of that civic-minded stuff. And I would like to commend the Board of Education generally for their good work in supporting the students and teachers of this, our lovely community, and for the first time that I know about, being actually welcoming to more members of our community than just those who are most vocal. Baccalaureate services and many public meetings can be a non-so-welcoming place for people who are not Christian, and most of our public meetings in this town do open with Christian prayer. So it is with very deep and hearty thanks that I stand here before you and congratulate you on putting on what is nominally a Christian service, but this year was more welcoming than it has been in the past. So thank you.
Is anyone else here who'd like to address the board during this part of our meeting? Come on up.
Mine is a totally different issue.
No, you can speak on, you're welcome to speak on any issue. So just come up, identify yourself, and whatever you'd like to say.
I'm Patsy Clevenger. I'm the retired Director of Finance of 20 years for the Danville Schools. Proud, very proud former employee of the Danville Schools. I didn't expect to be able to be here tonight, so I had actually written a letter, and then I was able to change my schedule around. And I'm here because even though I've spoken with most of you all over the past 10 days, I want to go on record in the public in support of Dr. Look and his vision for the Danville Schools. In more than 30 years in education, I've had the opportunity to work for 8 different superintendents. As in any new position, time is needed to evaluate the programs of the district, the personnel, the history of district accomplishments, community expectations, and most importantly, the needs of all the students. I believe to do so demonstrates thoughtfulness, sincerity, and caring for the students of the district, and that it's just plain good sense. I don't believe 10 months' time given is an adequate judge of a person's capabilities. I've been affiliated with the Danville Schools since 1984. I love this district. Both of my sons received exemplary educations, and both went on to successful college careers because of the foundation that was laid in the Danville schools. 2 of my grandchildren will attend the Danville schools, and I want the same quality experience for them. Over the last few years, I've watched our standing as one of the preeminent districts in central Kentucky erode. This wonderfully diverse district has lost some of its luster. I hope we can find the happy medium of being innovative while still providing our students with the skills they need to be successful in college and work and life. In researching Dr. Look's credentials, I can't help but be impressed with what he's accomplished at Shawnee High School and Mezquite Middle School, which is a Louisville school that is demographically very similar to our district. I very much appreciate his willingness to observe, to listen, to talk to stakeholders before taking action. To do so indicates thoughtful and caring consideration of district issues. He distinguished himself over 34 other applicants last spring. He's not been given enough time for us to see what he can do for the Danville schools. Systemic change takes time. Let's give him the opportunity, the support, and the time to do that here. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy, you're going to address the board?
Yes, I am.
All right.
I'm Judy Spelling, and currently I work at the board's office as director of elementary ed. And I just wanted to address the board tonight because as the principal for 15 years at Tolliver, I felt I could always come before you and speak and always ask for things, talk about things that I knew were good for Tolliver, the staff, and the students out there. Tonight I'm here to talk about what I feel is good for the Danville schools. I feel like I'd be remiss if I did not voice my feelings at this time. Dr. Look had some big shoes to fill when he came to Danville, and I feel like he has stepped up to the challenge. I personally am glad that he did not come in and start making a million changes and demands, quietly sat back and watched and listened. He is self-admittedly an introvert and not an in-your-face leader. So he has not always been visible as many would want him to be, but I do know that he has met with many staff members, many community groups this year, and has been a team player. He's asked many questions, he's gathered information from us, and then developed his plan. He has stayed true to his slogan, all means all. And whether we are talking about innovation, scheduling of day-to-day running of the district, or any other topic, he has stayed true to that slogan. I have enjoyed working with Dr. Look. He has challenged me in my new role and has helped me continue to grow as a professional. I feel his future plans for the district will create a strong foundation and will move the district forward in a positive direction. I hope to continue to work under his leadership and ask for all members of the board to step back and open their eyes and allow Dr. Look to continue to lead the district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Clay Clevenger. I'm Patsy's son. Over the last several weeks, and especially this weekend, I've been approached by people who are under the impression that I have a negative opinion and relationship with Dr. Look. I'd like to set the record straight that nothing can be further from the truth. I began reading and studying leadership and team building books well over a decade ago. I love the topic. So while I hear complaints about him not promoting himself or the school system enough, I see a man that's trying to build capacity. While I hear complaints about people not liking their jobs as much, I see a man holding people accountable. While I hear complaints of inaction, I see a man analyzing the ins and outs of this school district and its people and not making spontaneous decisions. I've been involved in coaching changes 3 times in my coaching career, and I've seen firsthand how tough and sometimes messy the first year can be. As leaders of this district and community, I would challenge people, instead of pointing a finger, pull the thumb, see how we can make this district better. This weekend I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he told me a story. He's a principal at Henderson County Alternative School. We coached together for 3 or 4 years in Henderson. And the young man that had played for us our first 2 years came in and to visit with him. And the unique thing about this young man quit 3 games into his senior season because his starting spot was taken. But he still came in to see one of his former coaches. And so as they were talking, Coach Lawson asked him, give me one word to tell me that would explain Coach Clevenger to you. And the young man thought for a minute, and he said, chances. He said, he always gave us chances. He taught us, and he always gave us the opportunity to make mistakes and learn from them. And he said, that's what I would always remember about Coach Clevenger. And the only thing I would ask is that we give Dr. Luke a fair chance. I think he's going to be a great addition to this community. I think he's got a lot of great ideas, and I just want to make sure people understand that I support him and his vision for this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here tonight who'd like to step to the podium?
Hi, I'm Sean Cook. I'm a taxpayer and a parent of a senior here in the system. As a matter of fact, she was sitting right here, but she had to go to a school function. I'd like to thank Virginia Bug and the committee that put together the baccalaureate. I thought it was a wonderful opportunity for the kids to see some diversity and some love from all different types of folks, especially the gentleman who gave the closing prayer.
Hi, I'm Amy Daffler-Moe, and I am the pastor of Trinity Episcopal Church right on Main Street. That's a Christian community. I came with the intent of just offering support to some families that are really important to me and my life in this community. Families that my children have played on the soccer field with, who have attended church with. I did not realize I was also coming in support of Dr. Look. But after what I've heard tonight, I realized that maybe it might be necessary for me to speak, which I did not intend to do. I had a meeting with Dr. Look several weeks ago. He came to me as a religious leader in the community with the intent of us discerning how we can best support the children in our community. It became clear to me that that is what is most important to him. And that is what is most important to me. It was thrilling to have an educator reach out to our congregations who hold a lot of power in our community, to be able to imagine ways that we might support the children of our community, particularly those children who are hungry, while at the same time, those who are privileged, like my own. I hope that we will be discerning and thoughtful, that you will be discerning and thoughtful as you make long-term decisions for our community. And I hope most of all that our children will come first. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. We will move on in our agenda then to the business part of the meeting, which the next item is for us to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 4/13/15 and 4/20/15 meeting minutes as submitted.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve those April 13th and April 20th meeting minutes as submitted. All in favor of the motion, is state saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda is our finance report. Is there a motion?
I move we accept the financial report as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Campbell?
I have just a few comments that I will make. Our overall financial statement, I just wanted to call attention to 2 lines on the fund balances. If you can take a look at the committed Kisbet line, that's our Kentucky School Board's Insurance Trust. This time last year, we had $135,000 reserved on the balance sheet. We have made our first payments on that assessment. And so when we've been talking about our tentative budget, I just wanted to point out that we have $109,000 laying there currently. We have about $50,000 worth of payments remaining to be paid. And so those are some one-time funds that we've been talking about, including the tentative budget for some one-time expenses. So it's from that line. Also, I wanted to point out, on the report, I failed to give you your summary down here at the bottom about the assigned I funds and maintenance, the $320,000 line item. So just as a reminder, typically I have that at the bottom, that for 15-16, there's $150,000 already assigned for renovation, and then 16-17, $150,000 assigned for renovation, and then $20,000 is reserved there still for the hospital roof or the gym ceiling. So any questions about the front page? On over to the receipts side, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. Under the general property tax this month, we did collect $102,000. And to date, we've collected $6,021,000 in general fund. Budget was $6 million. We still have about $100,000 outstanding on unpaid property taxes to be. They'll either stay on our books or be purchased. We've got the tax sale coming up in the next couple of weeks. Then, if you will look down on the SEEK line, we currently have budgeted $6,190,000. Our final SEEK amount with final growth and final settlement from Kentucky Department of Education will be $6,219,000, which is $28,000 more than we had budgeted. But we're a little less than last year because our ADA is less. So just wanted to point that out. And those are all the comments that I really have about the monthly financial statements. Do y'all have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Campbell?
Joanne, any particular reason why our ADA is less? Just
We just had,
It just
if you
seems to
look
be an
back
odd-
over the years, there's just a tendency to fluctuate, a little bit. So I don't have a reason for you. It just ebbs and flows a little bit.
I mean, it's not substantial, but
Right.
is it something that we need to be concerned about on a more vigorous basis? Or?
Not the trend that I'm seeing now, no. Because we've had this little trend since I've been here for 5.5 years, and we've had a little ebb and flow each year. So that's another reason when we work on the budget, that we don't budget to capacity on ADA, because if we do budget to the top number, and then we lose a little bit, then we've got to have some maybe knee-jerk reactions on making some reductions. So that's why I'm pretty cautious on ADA, because it does ebb and flow.
Any other questions on the financial report? We have a motion and a second to approve the report as submitted. All in favor of the motion, stated say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Next up is the payment of invoices. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the payment of invoices totaling $498,762.93 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Campbell, is there anything on this?
Just a few invoices that I wanted to point out because of the dollar value. It's the time of year when we're renewing some of our software packages. So Compass was an $18,000 renewal. We had Dreambox, which is significant for the elementary schools. That was a 2-year renewal for $35,000. And Reading Wonders is a renewal for next year. And then we had almost $170,000 in debt service payments. So that caused our expenditures to look high.
Okay. Any other questions from Ms. Campbell on the payment of invoices? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, state say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda is the salary schedules. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the 2015-16 salary schedules as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Campbell, anything on
Yes, if I could have the liberty to give you all another sheet, it's got 3 little cleanup items on it. And on the teaching assistant positions, we had talked last week about the number of days that are required for, and I've got highlighted in yellow the changes, the number of days for 4-year service credit. And so last week I was at our School Business Association conference, and we really need to go ahead and just make those 187 days because they pay into KTRS like our teacher retirement plan. So if you all are okay with that change. And then the next 2 items are just little cleanup items on the salary schedule, just to make those positions clearer. We try to indicate the number of hours that could be in place for positions. So transportation manager position, if we could just tag onto that 4 hours, and administrative secretary, if we could just put a range in there, 4 to 8. Just a little cleanup.
Those are existing positions?
Yes, yes. And then on the bottom, Mr. Meadows had asked me to incorporate this into this year's salary schedule, and I had forgotten about it, so he sent me an email. He has had 5 assistant positions, and they total $3,200. But he wants to change the makeup of those and just make it 4 positions equal to the same dollar value. So if you all are good with that, the makeup of how that salary is split, it's not costing us any more money. So that's all. So if you all are good with those changes and you want to incorporate them, that'd be great.
Any other questions? So the motion is to approve the 2015-16 salary schedules as submitted, including these items that you described as
Yes.
cleanups. All right. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Next is the staffing item. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the new staffing recommendations from the superintendent as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second? Is there a second? So a motion and a second to approve of the certified and classified positions for the 2015-16 school year as submitted. Any questions? Maybe I don't have any explanation. So this is the, just tell us real briefly, Greg, about this. This is the big handout, right?
Yes, sir, this is what we talked about at the work session. Last month, you put back a lot of the positions for 15-16, and since last month's board meeting, site-based councils have met and added back some positions, and then some of the other positions that had not been decided. So the list before you includes certified and classified positions, and it almost totally completes staffing for next year. There are a few positions still hanging with site-based councils.
Okay, and is this, I opened all my attachments earlier, is this the list with the names attached to it?
No, sir, it's right before that.
Okay,
Okay. Right, just the positions.
These are just those positions we talked about. Okay, I see the next ones. All right. Are there any questions on these positions? All right, then all in favor of the motion as stated on the certified and classified positions, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, and then next is the personnel report, which we don't have to take action on, right? It's just
Correct, that's information only, and those are assignments that are being made for positions that you've approved, and those we're recording assignments for the 15-16 school year.
Okay. All right. So we have the personnel report for the board's information. Next on the agenda is the environmental impact survey at Hogsett. Dr. Wood.
As mentioned earlier, when the conversation in the domain, the Kinder Morgan pipeline has become a major topic of conversation in the Danville community, as it runs actually through 13 states, including crossing through the property of Hogsett. In some of the community meetings, there's a conversation about different issues with it, including the fact that if the pipeline were to be able to be repurposed, it would have to be deregulated first. There are some concerns, particularly from issues of safety. One of the issues that we brought to the board for discussion is whether or not the district would like to weigh in those concerns. And essentially, what I have is a draft letter for us to consider that would in fact ask for an environmental impact assessment that simply extends the window of time for comment from the community, as well as demands a higher level of scrutiny for the kinds of analysis that Kinder Morgan and the government have to provide. So if you'd like, I can read this aloud and then make sure it's audit. In fact, this is a statement I'd like to go. Dear Commissioners of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the Danville Schools Board of Education is concerned deeply about the potential repurposing of the Tennessee gas pipeline proposed by the Kinder Morgan Company. The pipeline runs through the property of one of our elementary schools. We believe that an environmental assessment may be necessary yet insufficient in this situation and would prefer that FERC move immediately to a more thorough environmental impact statement. Any negative environmental event or impact emanating from this pipeline repurposing would be devastating to the youth, staff, and communities served by the elementary school. Please consider our request for a more intensive analysis of the proposal.
All right. Any questions from anybody about the letter? This is similar to letters that other agencies around Danville are also submitting to ask for this level of scrutiny and investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, it's in consultation with some of the attorneys who led the case as well.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about this? Or?
No, that's what I was going to ask the superintendent about the possible litigation. And do you think that there will be litigation concerning this?
I don't know. The current assessment is whether or not planning and zoning is to be involved, whether they can take action. That's from the more activist standpoint right now in the community is determining the role of this. What generally the folks are asking for in the greater conversation is this more intensive assessment impact statement, because it extends the window of time for discussion by 60 days and holds a higher level of scrutiny for the potential impact without ever saying whether or not support or refuse. So it simply allows us to make sure that as we evolve our own opinion and as the community evolves its opinion, it has the most information possible to make that determination.
Has it been assessed whether or not the actual pipeline is considered as an easement? Or do we actually have a little bit of say on asking that pipeline be moved?
We would be stretching my level of knowledge in the situation. I do not believe an easement is allowable in this particular situation, details of which I would struggle to describe, but further research can be done to make sure that's an answer to the question.
So really all we're doing here is just kind of seeking, instead of one type of review, another that would just be more extensive and would allow for a longer period of review.
That's right, without ever having to make a statement.
Okay. So we're really not taking a position on the pipeline itself, we're just talking about what the regulatory process we would prefer.
That's right.
Anybody have any questions or objections to this letter going forward?
Lonnie, may I ask?
Sure.
Would it be prudent of us to have our board attorney look into the aspect that has there ever been an easement on that on our onto properties? And that may make a difference with what's going on at this point. But I don't know. I have never heard anything being discussed about any of this pipeline concerning easements. And I think we ought to know, just to make sure that 1962, all of a sudden, there was an easement placed on the properties that we just not aware of.
Right. I mean, I think that would be appropriate for just the district, for you and your staff to just kind of look into this, kind of understand what all the issues are. And if there's a situation where you feel like you need events to be involved or whatever, you can let us know. And whatever we need to do to be thorough about this, I think we would all be in favor of that.
Will do.
Okay. Does that work, Steve?
No, that's perfect. I just think we need to really start looking
Okay.
at it.
So the board's going to endorse this letter tonight. We'll move that forward and we'll continue to watch this issue. Does that take care of that? Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. Is there a motion on that?
I move we accept the consent agenda as submitted without discussion.
A second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next on the agenda is executive session. We do not have a need for an executive session tonight. All right. So the next item is a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All right, all All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.